And that just really upsets me because so many people are watching these videos and it's just making them dumber and stupider by doing so. Hey everybody, it's Ryan with stampcollectors.us. Today I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a video that I found online. This is going to be unscripted. I'm just sharing with you my reaction to this top video that comes up first on YouTube when you search for most expensive stamps. The first video that comes up is this one by Couch Collectibles. They're a pretty big channel. I've seen some more of his videos as well on YouTube, and he doesn't strike me as being very knowledgeable when it comes to stamp collecting. I think most of his videos that I've seen where he has a little bit more knowledge is on coin collecting, but I'm going to take a look at this particular video, the 10 super rare stamps worth money, extremely valuable stamps. And this one has 349,000 views posted 6 years ago. So let's take a look at the video together.
Welcome to Couch Collectibles, where we talk about rare coins and collectibles that are worth money. In today's video, we are looking at 10 valuable and rare stamps that are worth money. So if you guys got a stamp collection, definitely always be on the lookout for these valuable stamps. And don't forget, if you guys want to join the exclusive coin roll hunting live streams, all you guys got to do is press that join button on my channel. If you do not see the join button, I do have a link down in the comments where you guys can click, and all the information for joining the channel will come up. That way you can decide if you want to join or not.
So he does some live streams. Looks like he does some giveaways as well. I've been thinking about doing the same thing on my channel, possibly giving away some stamps or even stamp collections. If you guys are interested in that, please leave a comment below and I'll work on making that happen.
Are on the road to 100,000 subscribers, so again, thank you so much for that. I cannot wait to do that huge giveaway at 100,000 subscribers. But let's just hop into it and check out these valuable stamps that you should always be on the lookout for. So first up is a stamp featuring Thomas Jefferson that had...
I'm going to stop it right there. Thomas Jefferson. So obviously, even to non-stamp collectors, you'll quickly recognize this is not Thomas Jefferson. It's Ben Franklin, and right off the bat, he has already lost my trust in him being a knowledgeable person in the field of stamp collecting, maybe even in the field of history. Not knowing who that is a portrait of is concerning, especially if you are dealing in coins, as Franklin and Jefferson are on coins. So the fact that he does not recognize this really puts into question his expertise, maybe in any subject.
Special printing, and it is from the year of 1875. This 1 cent U.S. postage stamp sold for over $28,000.
So what he's referring to is a reissue of the 1873 issues. This is the reissue on hard white wove paper and issued without gum. The current catalog value for this stamp is $14,000, and these reissues are going to need an expert to certify them. There are several other issues of this stamp that have this same design on them. This particular reissue is rare. It's also noted by having these cut perforations on all sides, so that could be an indicator that a stamp is reperfed as well.
Next up is another very expensive stamp here. You can see that this one does have some kind of ink that's been pressed on it. Now,
ink that's been pressed on it. I think even beginner stamp collectors know that some kind of ink on it is this cancellation here, which cancels the stamp when it's used for mailing. Again, the fact that he is unsure of what that's called is very concerning.
This one here is a 2 cent postage stamp featuring George Washington.
At least he got the name right.
1920, sold for over $29,000.
Okay, so what he's referring to here is the offset type 7, Scott 534B. And I'm also noticing that he's not giving any Scott number references in this video as well. So again, just another sign of the lack of knowledge that this person has when it comes to stamps. And it's also concerning that this video has over 300,000 views, plus the video is showing up as #1 on YouTube. So what this guy is preaching and telling people is not helping educating the public about what super rare and expensive stamps are. You would think that with the technology like AI, that YouTube would be able to understand that this video is very beginner level, even untrue facts stated in it. And there's just not a lot of information in here that really educate people or guide them on how to identify these stamps that are super rare and valuable. Instead, it seems like he's chosen a lot of stamps here that are very common designs. So these stamps like this one have a lot of different issues in the catalog. And while there are some very expensive and rare examples of this design, for the most part, the vast majority of what's in people's collections and what people come across are going to be the common varieties of this stamp, where they were produced in the millions, even hundreds of millions, and they're just common and not even really worth the paper they're printed on. So again, this is misleading. This is going to cause people to think that they have something rare, special, and valuable, when in fact, the odds are super likely that they have one of the common ones. And this video is just really pumping them up for no reason. Now, the Scott 534B is rare. This is a type 7. I can tell by the extra line of dots here on the stamp and a complete bottom left 2. So it is a type 7. But what he didn't mention in this video is that this stamp has Shermack perforations on it. So that's going to be these rectangular cuts that you see on the side of the stamp. And this means that it was used in a private vending machine, and not Scott 534B that has straight edges on all sides. Now, it'd be very easy to trim off this piece of the stamp here and present it as a Scott 534B, which is why this stamp, again, is going to need to have a certificate of authenticity, being that it could be easily faked. Now, the Shermack perforated variety of this stamp is nowhere near the value of the authentic 534B, which has a catalog value of $1,500 in used condition. The Type 7 with the Shermack perforations only has a catalog value of $200.
Moving right along, this one here is actually a graded stamp. You can see that it's 2 stamps still connected together, and they are 10-cent
Annoying sound effect.
US postage stamps a piece. So that's pretty sweet. These 2 stamps.
So this is the first stamp that he's shown that actually does appear to be authentic. It's encapsulated and has the grade on it. So this particular example has been authenticated, but again, he fails to provide more information that this is a coil line pair, and he just calls them 2 stamps connected together, which proves that his knowledge of philately is pretty weak. And I'm also noticing on a lot of these stamps, it seems that everyone that comes up is having some sort of promotion or call to action to subscribe. Really feels more like a promo video than an educational video. It's kind of sad that YouTube is pushing this video out at the top of the most expensive stamp search results.
Together sold for over $35,000. Moving right along to a Harding stamp from 1923. You can see on one corner it says 1865, the other 1923. United States postage. So a 2-cent stamp again here. One here sold for over $23,000.
He doesn't mention anything about why that stamp is special, why it sold for so much money. This stamp that he's referring to is a Scott 613, and it is quite expensive and rare. It's the rotary press design, which has a larger measurement on it perf 11 stamp. Now, there is a stamp that looks almost identical to this one. It is the exact same stamp in all aspects, other than the design measurement of the more valuable 613 is going to be 19.25 millimeters by 22.5 millimeters in dimension, versus the common Scott number 610 is going to be 19.25 millimeters, which is the same, but the height is 22.25 millimeters versus 22.5 millimeters, which only has a catalog value of 50 cents. Don't get too excited if you see this one in your stamp collection if it doesn't have a certificate that says it's a Scott 613.
Now this next one you can definitely buy a house with because that's how expensive this stamp is. It is again from 1923, the Harding stamp, 2-cent postage stamp here. And this one here sold for over $103,000.
So it looks like he's showing the same stamp that he did before, and if it sold for that much money, it's going to be a Scott 613 as well. However, the catalog value for Scott 613 is $35,000, so if this one sold for $100,000, then it's probably due to its grade. This one is well centered. I'd call that maybe very fine to extremely fine, especially for a rare stamp. So that shows you that a stamp can jump way up in value if it's nicely centered and sound and rare.
$103,000. Moving right along, this one's pretty cool. I really like this one. Probably my favorite one of this video. It's got silver tax on it. $50 stamp. Neat. United States Internal Revenue.
Another plug for his Facebook channel now.
That is awesome. So it's got the number 731 on there. This stamp here from 1942 sold for over $46,000.
So this stamp is a RG-103, and it is by far the most expensive stamp out of all of the silver tax issues. And yes, the catalog value is $40,000 on this one. Again, there's not a lot of information here on how to identify this. There are other stamps that look like this one, but it's the one that says Series 1942 at the bottom that's going to indicate the rare RG-103. The other stamps that have this denomination of $50 from 1941 and 1944 are also pretty scarce and are worth a couple $1,000s. So if you have a $50 silver tax issued stamp, it's going to be worth a bit of money regardless whether it's a 1942 or not. But if you want to know if you hit the jackpot, you've got to have the 1942 on there. And being that this stamp is so valuable and expensive, you're going to need that certificate of authenticity just to make sure that it's authentic, not faked, and to note its condition.
Next up is a Hawaiian postage stamp. This is a 2-cent stamp. Not too crazy about this one because there's not really much on the design of it.
This one is the Hawaii Scott #1, and it is by far the most expensive and rare Hawaiian stamp. Now, they do print a lot of reissues and reprints of this design, so again, you'll need to make sure that you have it authenticated to know if you have a real one or not. This stamp is cataloged in used condition at being worth $250,000, and if it was never used, it would be worth $650,000. But without noting that there are lots of fakes of these that have been printed and are in the hands of a lot of collectors and collections, just because most collectors will never actually own one of these, they're that rare. They have a reprint in their album of this stamp. So if you have one, the odds still are very unlikely that you have an authentic one, an original, genuine one, and that you have one of the reprints that essentially have little to no value.
But it did sell for big money. It sold for over $159,000. So
There's another plug, this time for his Twitter.
Pretty incredible for a little bitty piece of sticky paper, a stamp, $159,000. Moving right along to a George Washington stamp. Now this one here is pretty cool. It says playing cards at the bottom. At the top, it says Internal Revenue, U.S. Revenue. And then it is a 3-cent stamp from 1862 to around 1871, somewhere in that area. This stamp here sold for over $28,000.
So what he fails to mention on this stamp is that it's an imperforate of the 3-cent playing card revenue, and the imperforate is worth a lot of money. This is Scott R17A, which is the imperforate variety of this design, and it does have a catalog value of about $27,000. But there are also perforated versions of this stamp, meaning it has little teeth all around it, and that one only has a catalog value of $200. So if you have this design, don't get too excited. If it has the little perforations around the edges of it, then it's going to be the more common R17C, which is only worth $200. The imperforate variety could also be easily faked by trimming off the perforations on all sides, so it's going to have wide enough margins on all the sides to pass authenticity when getting this stamp certified. Otherwise, what you likely have is the perforated variety that's just been trimmed.
Moving right along, there is only 2 of these stamps ever known, and you will see why, because here's the front of the stamp. It is a 1-cent postage stamp with Thomas Jefferson, and then here is
another misidentification, Benjamin Franklin, calling him Thomas Jefferson. So I thought maybe the first time he did it, it was just a slip of the tongue. But now that he's done it again, I've really come to the conclusion that this guy has really no knowledge when it comes to early American history, stamps, even coins. Like I said, Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson are on a lot of coins and currency. So the fact he's getting their name mixed up, again, just tells me that even though he's got over 800,000 subscribers, he really is an amateur, especially when it comes to stamps and possibly even coins, just because he's getting the name of the person being depicted completely wrong. And that just really upsets me because so many people are watching these videos and it's just making them dumber and stupider by doing so. It just goes to show you that just because somebody has a lot of views on YouTube or a lot of subscribers, it really doesn't mean that they're an expert in the space. Like always, make sure you get several opinions from different sources. If you notice that somebody is not saying things right, not providing you with all of the fine details, then it should be questionable whether or not that resource is trustworthy and should be followed.
because here's the front of the stamp. It is a 1-cent postage stamp with Thomas Jefferson, and then here is the back of the stamp. So that is pretty sweet there. So here's the certificate of authenticity, I believe. So it tells you how authentic it is.
So this is a Scott 63E with a printing error being printed on both sides of the stamp. This is different than a ink transfer, which you'll often see in a lot of stamps. If the design of the stamp on the back side is reversed, meaning that it doesn't read properly, all of the words are backwards, the image is backwards on it. That happens when the sheet is still wet on the printing press and another sheet is laid on top of it. You get that transfer that occurs there. And those are pretty common and usually don't add a lot of value to a stamp. But this particular case, it is a reverse printing, which means that the paper was actually ran through the press twice, printed on both sides. And that adds a lot of rarity and value to this particular issue.
And the people that it's supporting when they did sell it. So this stamp here sold for over $48,000. All right, guys, let me know what collectible video you guys want to see next in the comments below. Until then, I'll see you all in the comment section below. This is Couch Collectibles, and this is where I disappear.
Well, I'm glad he disappeared. That video was just full of a bunch of nonsense. Thank you guys for sitting through that with me. If you have been collecting for a while, I'm sorry I put you through that. That was pretty painful to watch and listen to. Hopefully this video will get found and people can get a second opinion on what they just seen in this popular video. And please be sure to like this video, comment below. That will help it get picked up in the algorithm and hopefully get in front of more people to educate them about what it is they really might have if they have any of the designs of these stamps. As always, thanks for watching, best of luck, and happy collecting.